Hello, welcome to News on NTA International. I'm Nancy Godiangunihu. First, the headlines. President Buhari grants audience to Kwara State Governor with issues relating to ecology and development top on agenda. Central Bank of Nigeria Monetary Policy Committee calls for reduction in lending rates. Plus, National Food Security Council reassures Nigerians of adequate food supply in spite of the devastating impact of flooding in parts of the country. And now details of the news. Issues relating to the ecology and development dominated discussions as President Muhammadu Buhari granted audience to the governor of Kwara State, Abdurrahman Abdulrazak. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
Over the weekend, we had huge rainstorm that destroyed about 5,000 houses in the state capital.
The Kwara State Governor, Abdurrahman Abdulrazak, told President Muhammadu Buhari that there was also huge flooding in Kwara North and the banks of River Niger, as a result of which nearly 15,000 people were displaced and thousands of hectares of farmlands submerged. Kwara State, he said, needs urgent federal government intervention.
We're expecting bumper harvest this season, especially with the federal government's intervention in the agricultural sector. But unfortunately, we are going to lose this harvest, and we hope we'll be able to gain ground. We also thank the federal government that they gave us a 10,000 hectare irrigation scheme to boost our dry season farming. That project is on course now. Already NEMA is on ground in Kwara taking data. So we believe the circle will be shorter this time. Before, what we used to have is after floodings, it takes up to 6 months before the aid comes in. But he has promised that things are being turned around at NEMA, and they will act promptly.
He enumerated blankets, buckets, food, building materials, as well as agricultural inputs as things urgently needed to help the people recover.
We're talking about anywhere between 5 to 10 billion naira in losses.
He said the Kwara State government has started doing the little it can under the prevailing situation by distributing palliatives to those in need. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the National Food Security Council is reassuring Nigerians that the nation will not experience any food crisis in spite of the devastating impact of the recent flooding in parts of the country on agriculture. Vice President, Chairman of the Council and Governor of Kebbi State, Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, gave the assurance while briefing newsmen after the 5th technical meeting of the council members in the State House, from where Adamu Sambo reports.
The meeting, presided over by the Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, was convened to critically analyze available information and data on Nigeria's food situation and what needs to be done urgently towards responding to the threat posed by the recent flooding in parts of the country on agriculture. Consequently, NEMA, Banks of Agriculture and Industry, NISAL, and Nexim Bank, who have important roles to play in the nation's drive towards achieving food security, were invited for briefing. This is part of efforts towards creating synergy and collaboration needed to unlock the desired funding for the agricultural sector. The meeting also looked at how the federal government responded to the 2018 flood disaster as a model for possible adoption in response to the prevailing situation.
Is there going to be a food crisis? No. By God's grace, there will be none. The flooding is devastating. But Mr. President has been working, as you can evidently see from last week to today. We are having another meeting because that's what bothers Mr. President more than anything else. How does he deliver to Nigerians? And since last week and earlier, the challenge has been come up with how we can intervene so that farmers, fishermen, and those in the animal husbandry can resume economic activity as quickly as possible.
On the issue of prices of crops, even in Abuja, you will not see the price drop immediately. prices started dropping at the local markets. Those that have existing stock will not lose money and drop the price for you. They will wait until they exhaust the stock or there is a lot of this produce in the market. Then they will be forced to drop the prices. So the crop have started coming up, getting cheaper and being transported. It takes time, depending on how fast the traders are bringing the cheaper stock into the market.
The roadmap and recommendations from the meeting will be forwarded to President Muhammadu Buhari for consideration. On his part, Governor Simon Lalong of Plateau State gives an update on the battle against the COVID-19 pandemic in his state.
We have not had any death. And then drastic reduction in even people that are supposed to be taken to isolation centers. We are able to address that by identifying areas where we see concentration of the disease and also control the spread.
Governor Lalong said the more testing, the better for Nigeria as it strives towards controlling and containing the global pandemic. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And on to electoral matters, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has presented certificate of return to Governor Godwin Obaseki and his deputy Philip Shuaibu of People's Democratic Party, PDP, signifying their official recognition as governor and deputy governor-elect of the September 19 election. Agatha Egware-Ojo reports.
I hereby certify that Godwin Noge Hase Obaseki of People's Democratic Party has been elected to the office of Governor of Edo State.
INEC National Commissioner in charge of Edo, Delta, Bayelsa and Rivers States, May Agbamuche Mbu, presented the certificates of return to Governor Godwin Obaseki and his deputy Philip Shaibu. She urged the governor to see his victory as an opportunity to usher in a new beginning for the state.
We have always maintained that a successful conducted election is a collective effort, and for so it has proven to be.
This ceremony is just another fulfillment of the provisions of the law.
Governor Obaseki promised to use his second term in office to work more for the people. The governor commended the electoral umpire, the police and other security agencies for their efforts before, during and after the election.
Ability of INEC to view results as voting has, as the counting has taken place in the units is one innovation that we will implore INEC to insist on and improve, because that it has introduced a different element of transparency in the way we conduct elections in this country.
He called on aggrieved members to join hands with him to develop the state. In Benin, Agatha Egware-Ojo, NTA News.
And President Court of Appeal Justice Monica Dongban-Menson has established the Election Petitions Tribunal Secretariat and accordingly constituted a panel in respect of the governorship election conducted in Edo State. The Chief Judge of Edo State, Justice Edigin, has equally approved the use of Edo High Court Complex Election Petition Court Hall, Sapele Road, for the tribunal sitting. A statement by the court secretary, Sunday Martin, says the secretariat is now open, while all enquiries are to be directed to the secretary on this mobile number 0701 005 8493. And still on the legal front, the Supreme Court has fixed the 27th of November for ruling on an application asking it to set aside its 2019 judgment ordering Shell Nigeria Development Company to pay damages to some oil-producing communities in Bayelsa State. This came after arguments were taken on a preliminary objection to the application. Femi Okewo reports.
11th of January 2019, the Supreme Court delivered a judgment in a matter against the Shell Petroleum Development Company of Nigeria, ordering the company to pay damages running into hundreds of millions of naira to various oil-producing communities in Bayelsa State. And just as the judgment creditors began to take steps to take benefit of the judgment, Shell, through their counsel, Wole Nupekun, are now back before the Supreme Court to ask the nation's apex court to set aside its judgment. Before taking that application, the communities, through their council, Rochas filed a preliminary objection to the application for the setting aside of the judgment, telling the court that the application constitutes a scandalous deliberate abuse and ridicule of the integrity and
Sorry for the abrupt ending of that report. Now, talking money matters. With the lingering uncertainties in the global economy associated with the COVID-19 pandemic and the volatilities in oil prices, the Central Bank of Nigeria Monetary Policy Committee ended its meeting with a call on the monetary authorities to reduce lending rates so as to encourage small businesses in the country. Chimobi Walter Naji now reports.
Monetary policy rates in an attempt to reinvigorate the Nigerian economy as the outlook on broader economy remains largely uncertain. The Monetary Policy Committee, after its fifth meeting for the year, decided to reduce the key rates by 100 basis points to 11.5%, while placing the asymmetric corridor at plus 100 and minus 700 basis points around the MPR to help ensure liquidity and growth in the economy. While reading the communique, the CBN Governor, Godwin Emefiele, said the MPC also resolved after divergent votes to retain the liquidity ratio at 30%, while cash reserve ratio CRR was left unchanged at 27.5%.
Committee's considerations focused on major headwinds, exerting downward pressure on output growth and upward pressure on domestic prices and inflation. The key factors considered by committee as likely to exert upward pressure on domestic prices in the near term includes the prevalence of security challenges in the country, adverse weather conditions causing flooding in some farming regions, the increase in petroleum pump price, deregulation in the electricity tariffs, low crude oil prices, and exchange rate adjustment.
The Governor, Godwin Emefiele, while blaming the fall in Purchasing Managers' Index on lockdown measures, noted that decision of the committee to change the controlling rates was informed by the need to observe the impact of steps already taken under a massive intervention plan to save the economy from COVID-19 pressures. In Abuja, Chimobi Walter Naji, NTA News.
And moving on to labor matters now, the Nigerian Association of Road Transport Owners, NARTO, has suspended its warning strike after reaching an agreement for extension of the implementation of the 45,000-litre petrol trucks compliance to January 2021. NARTO President Yusuf Lawal Othman says the decision was taken following the intervention of critical stakeholders in the industry. Lydia Sampson was there.
NATO says it is not unmindful of the federal government's desire to maintain its road networks for utilization by the citizens. According to NATO President Yusuf Lawal Othman, the only bone of contention is the lack of engagement of its members, which is already being addressed with ongoing consultations, which led to the agreement.
Following the intervention of the Group Managing Director of the NNPC and the DG SSS, and the directive that we maintain the status quo, go back to status quo. We are therefore directing all our members to get back to operations with immediate effect, while negotiations continue.
He said the grace given will enable its members commence the process of changing their trucks to comply with the government's new directive. As partners in progress, the President says NATO will continue to work closely with government to serve Nigerians to the best of their ability. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
And organized labor unions have given the federal government up to the 28th of September 2020 to reverse the increase in the price of petroleum premium motor spirits PMS and electricity tariff for face industrial action. This was the stand taken at the end of the National Executive Council meeting of the unions held in Abuja. Austin Anyebe has the details.
The organized labor had decried the recent increase in the pump price of premium motor spirits, otherwise known as petrol, and hike in electricity tariff, saying the decisions are untimely considering the economic downturn in the country.
To avert any industrial action by the labor union, the federal government convened a meeting where books on the state of economy were shown to representatives of the labor union.
Following the deadlock for the meeting, Labour's Central Working Committee on the 15th of September issued government a 2-week notice to reverse the increment or the mobilized workers for strike. It's a follow-up to the notice for the strike that necessitated the meeting of the National Executive Council in Abuja, where representatives of labor and allied unions from 36 states of the country and the FCT unanimously endorsed the notice by the Central Working Committee.
Decided to endorse the ultimatum, 2 weeks ultimatum, given to the federal government to try to reverse those obnoxious decisions, and also pronounce that the action proposed by the Central Working Committee is hereby endorsed by the NEC, that 28th of September will be a date that those actions will be challenged by Nigerian workers, our civil society allies, and also other labor centers.
The organized labor is of the view that the privatization of the power sector 7 years ago has not yielded any positive result. Hence, Nigerian electricity consumers are at the receiving end.
Whereas the entire privatization process, the entire sector was sold at about 400 billion. We are also surprised that government within the last 4 years injected 1.5 trillion over and above the amount that was used to sell this very important asset.
Government has maintained that removal of petrol subsidy is in the interest of Nigerians, as many importers of the product can be channeled to infrastructural development. In Abuja, Austin Anyebe, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International. More stories in just a moment. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Basic knowledge of conflict management, as well as the benefit of building a peaceful nation, are some of the key areas citizens should understand to help end conflicts in Nigeria, especially in the north, east, and west. This was part of submissions at a 1-week basic course on conflict management organized by the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution in Abuja. Olusheye Adeabo has details.
Struggles, culture and religious intolerance, as well as the weather, were highlighted as factors fueling clashes in Nigeria and across Africa. The submissions by experts at this basic course on conflict management focused on imparting knowledge on scanning and analyzing conflicts, its management skill, third-party intervention, as well as early warning and responses, among many others. The participants were full of questions on how to balance all the issues that affect peace in Nigeria, but were optimistic that the knowledge acquired from the course has rightly positioned them as agents of peace.
We, wearing uniform, we have involved in so many conflict resolution within and outside the country. But this course has really broadened our knowledge.
I really want to contribute to society, to give my time and effort in ensuring that there is peace wherever I am.
Peace building work is a collective work. It's not the work alone for the military or for the civilian.
You can see that the participants is a cross-section of both the military and the civilian, and that is to tell you how conflict management is very, very key for any society to survive. And that is what the Institute has done, to package this training, to provide these basic skills, for people in non-violent conflict management, which is very, very important.
Other areas such as the role of stability played by security personnel formed a major part of the course. This probably explains why many of the participants were drawn from the security sector. But the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution insists that the platform is for building a peaceful country and target all Nigerians. In Abuja, Olusheye Adiagbo, NTA News.
World Health Organization reports highest increase in global weekly COVID-19 cases as UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson introduces new coronavirus restrictions for England. Joyce Ometu has an update on the pandemic.
The coronavirus pandemic appears to be accelerating worldwide, with the weekly number of new cases soaring at its highest level. In the latest update, the World Health Organization said 1,998,897 new cases of coronavirus had been recorded around the world from September 14 to September 20. The rise in infections comes despite a global decrease in the weekly number of deaths from the virus. Meanwhile, amid growing concerns over a rise in coronavirus cases in England, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has announced new restrictions to stem the spread. In a statement, the Prime Minister warns that the UK is at perilous turning point and people should not be complacent, adding that new restrictions are likely to last 6 months. In the meantime, reports say the European Union summit scheduled for later this week has been postponed as its president Charles Michel goes into quarantine after his bodyguard tested positive for COVID-19. Data from the WHO dashboard as at 6 p.m. local time indicates that there are now 31,567,989 COVID-19 cases, 970,875 deaths. The African continent has so far recorded 1,422,038 cases, 34,153 fatalities, and 1,167,582 recoveries. In Nigeria, the Center for Disease Control and CDC in its daily update said that 105 patients who have recently recovered from COVID-19 were on Monday discharged across the country. So far, Nigeria has 57,437 cases, 48,674 recoveries, and 1,100 fatalities. And that's a global update on COVID-19. I am Joyce Ometu.
Thank you, Joyce. President Muhammadu Buhari felicitates with former governor of Imo State, Owele Rochas, Anayo Okorocha, on his 58th birthday, joining friends and family to celebrate the consummate entrepreneur and philanthropist. In a statement signed by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, President Buhari shares the moment of joy with political associates of Owele Okorocha, senator representing Imo West Senatorial District in the 9th Assembly. The president says the senator's antecedents as chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum, president Nigeria Red Cross Society, president and founder Rochas Foundation, and other notable establishments continue to resonate, especially among young leaders. The president believes Senator Okorocha's large heart and detribalized outlook will continue to stand him out for recognition and appreciation as he uses his foundation to reach out to the poor and downtrodden in society, providing scholarship for many. President Buhari prays that the Almighty God will grant Owele Rochas Okorocha longer life and good health in the service of country and humanity. Moving on to sports, President, Nigeria Wrestling Federation Daniel Igali gets federal government's World Wrestling Board. Tamara Ibiwe has this and more on Sports Update.
The federal government has promised to use every means within its power to support Nigerian candidates seeking a position on the board of United World Wrestling, UWW, in Belgrade this December. Minister, Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dare, who stated this when he met President, Nigeria Wrestling Federation, Daniel Igali in Abuja, said as the most populous black nation in the world, Nigeria has what it takes to lead in all fronts.
More importantly, the fact that wrestling is one of our key sports where we have competitive advantage. We think that having you in that place will be good for us.
What we're trying to do is to get into the Bureau so that we can also have the necessary support for African wrestling and for Nigeria particularly.
Meanwhile, newly inducted patron of Authentic Nigeria Football Supporters Club, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, says Kaduna State is set to compete with any other state in sporting championships. Nasir El-Rufai, who is also the governor of Kaduna State, said the present administration is keen to promote football as a vehicle of unity and peace among the youths. In another development, Super Eagles head coach Gernot Rohr has been commended for inviting 6 new players to camp for the international friendlies with Tunisia and Côte d'Ivoire. The introduction, Nigerians say, has opened new ground for the players to showcase themselves.
Mati Yakubu, not so much about him, but well, we'll see what he can do.
25 players were invited to the Super Eagles camp built for October this year. Tamara Ebiwe, NTA News.
Next is a check on Wednesday's weather prospect for Nigeria and other cities across the globe. And that's the news. Remember to connect with NTA and stand against rape and rapists.
This is NTA International.
Ogoni cleanup is the largest remediation project in the world, the first time in Nigeria and the first time by any government. Launched in June 2016, it has gone down in history as one of Muhammadu Buhari's lasting legacies as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
If the water in the land are polluted, the majority of our people there, are virtually being starved because